one of our most frequent support calls concerns your scanner, your barcode scanner, and when it starts acting funny or just doesn't work at all. So we are usually able to walk you through or help you resolve the issue every time. It's very rare that a scanner itself is actually broken. They tend to be robust little things, especially if you buy the Honeywell, Metrologic, Eclipse, or Voyager scanners. They tend to be little workhorses. So if your scanner is acting funny, it is probably not a hardware issue, but a programming issue or something to do with your Windows settings. So we're going to go through today the most common fixes for a broken scanner. So one of the things that may happen when you are scanning something is that it simply doesn't scan at all. So it is, you go to scan and you beep something into the point of sale or into inventory and nothing happens. So in that case, what I often get users to do is to simply unplug the scanner from the USB port on their computer and plug it back in. You don't need to restart your computer. You don't need to scan the programming sheet for the scanner. Simply unplug it and plug it back in, and maybe try plugging it into a different USB port, because it does happen once in a while where the actual USB port on your computer will fail. So it's a good idea to switch up the USB port in case that is the culprit. You should also have a blinking, red scan line or a green ready light on your scanner if it's ready to go. So if the scanner's doesn't have a scan line, or it's got a red light on top, maybe it's indicating that something is wrong internally with the scanner. If the scanner, whenever you scan something, makes a harsh merp sound, there could be something wrong with the programming or with the actual hardware itself. So that's a caveat to what I said at the beginning, where it's usually not a hardware issue. If your scanner won't even scan, or it's growling at you every time you scan, it could be something going on with the scanner. In that case, we have had some users have had success with just simply trying different USB ports and making sure both cables on the cable connected to the scanner and the one in the computer are seated correctly. So the next thing that happens, this is probably the most common thing that happens, is your scanner is working, but it's inputting a weird character. So you may find that you're scanning and it's putting like a / or a / in front of ISBNs, and so things are not scanning into the point of sale correctly, or into inventory. When you scan something, it's coming in with like a / and then the ISBN, and you're going, what the heck happened? Or it just isn't even working. So what happens is your scanner is basically a keyboard. Think of it as a keyboard. It is like it's typing, it's reading numbers and typing them really fast into your system so you don't have to. So as such, your scanner actually uses your computer's language. So this isn't usually an issue with American users, but Canadian users tend to have computers that are set up with multi-language settings. You can see it in my computer. I normally disable mine, and I'll walk you through how to disable it, but I've enabled it now so you can see what it looks like. So you can tell that I have a multi-language keyboard input set up because I've got a little ing at the bottom right, and if I hover over it, it says English, United States, US keyboard. But this little indicator here tells me that I don't just have a single keyboard, I've got multiple keyboards to choose from. That's why this is showing up, because I can click it and actually choose a different keyboard to use. If you have, say, only one keyboard you've enabled on your system, like for most US users, or if you've gone through and disabled your unused keyboards, this won't show up because you only have one choice, so it doesn't give you a choice. But if you do see this in the bottom right, and you are, say, a Canadian store that doesn't ever type in French, say you don't need to type and switch the keyboard to do accent marks over letters, you may want to think about disabling the bilingual Canadian keyboard, because that is the culprit like 80% of the time when we have scanner issues. So the way you can tell this is down at the bottom right here, you may see that it says like English CMS standard, Canadian multilingual standard. This means that it's actually the keys you press on your keyboard are different than the standard keyboard. So what before was maybe a tilde or the preamble character that a scanner outputs, it's now been changed. So Bookmanager is expecting one thing, but the scanner's outputting something else. So one way to even test this is to bring up Notepad. So you can bring up handy dandy Notepad on your computer and scan a book. And if it's scanning incorrectly, you'll see what it's done. It's put in a / before the 978. So Bookmanager is looking for this one character here, a certain character, to tell it that, oh, you aren't typing this on your keyboard, you are inputting these numbers from a scanner. So the behavior of the system will differ than if you say we're typing, typing your scanner. So if I were to scan right in the inventory here, and I scan something in my scanner is not working, it's now bringing me into receiving, and it's typing in 978, because what Bookmanager sees is, oh, it didn't see that backward slash is a viable character, so it skipped it, and then it went, okay, you're pressing 9. Well, what's 9? If you're in inventory, 9 is receiving, and then now it's inputting the rest of the numbers in the supplier field. So that's a good indicator that your language has been set. And really, the problem with this is you can press the Windows key and the spacebar at the same time to switch your language. So it's not an intentional thing. You may have had it set to the English, Canada, or US keyboard, but you may have gone Windows key by, plus the spacebar by accident, just hit it, and it would have changed the language. So what I prefer to do here is just to remove the Canadian multilingual keyboard from the system, so that you're only dealing with the US or Canadian keyboard, and it will never accidentally get switched. So to change it, you just have to go down here, click on it, click on Language Preferences. From here, you want to click on the language you want to edit or modify. So we're going to go down to English Canada, and we can go remove. I can click the remove button. In the case of clicking the, whatever one is default, set as the default, I don't think it gives you an option to remove it if it's set as the default, so you may have to set something else as the default. But let's remove the English Canada one. And then now I'm left with a single English United States one. And you can even click on this and click on options to see the keyboards that are a part of this too. Because you may be listing here an English, so let's just add this right now. I'm gonna go down, add the English Canadian one. And then now I'm gonna remove the US one, like set this as my default. United States, remove. So a lot of you may just have the single English in here, in which case you're gonna go to options. And then it may list here a multilingual language, which you can then click on and click remove. So basically you just want to narrow it down so only one keyboard or one language, the US QWERTY, is probably the best one to go with. It appears in this list. As a result of making that change, you can see I don't have that ENG displayed in the bottom right, and now it's not an accidental hotkey. I can't press the Windows button, the Windows key plus the spacebar, and accidentally switch the language. It'll now just work. So if we bring up Notepad now, and I scan this David Sedaris book, there we go. That's what we should be seeing. We should be seeing a little tilde sign out front, and then the rest of the ISBN, and then the character should return. So the next thing that may happen with a scanner, if it becomes unresponsive in Bookmanager, is it may have lost its programming. You'd know it would lose its programming if you scan something into Notepad and there was no character at the beginning at all. All it did was this. It inputted the ISBN and then a return character. It went to the next line. So again, this is troublesome because Bookmanager thinks you're just typing this in. Certain areas it'll still work. If you go to the point of sale, you can still scan stuff in, but what it's gonna do is it's gonna advance to tendering every time. You may have seen that where you've noticed, oh, okay, every time I scan something right now, every time I scan an item, it goes right to tendering. What's going on? Well, that's probably because your scanner has lost its programming. In that case, you wanna use the handy dandy programming sheet, which we can provide you. It's also on our website. When you're logged in, there is a downloads menu. So you can actually go to our website here, bookmanager.com. When you are logged in as a store, you will find there's a downloads menu. And here we have our manuals and a whole bunch of goodies. But what we really want to find is the scanner sheets under 4 bookstores. And you can get your Eclipse or Voyager, or even there's a zebra and symbol scanner programming sheet. You can download this sheet. It'll be a PDF that you basically want to open up and print. So if I open up this PDF here, and you want to print this off and scan the barcodes 1 through 8 or 1 through 7. The 8th barcode simply just makes the tone a little quieter. We didn't like the default loud beeping noise. So if you want a quieter beeping tone, you can always print off this sheet and scan it. You cannot scan it off your computer screen. Maybe if you have like a 4K or a super high resolution screen, you can, but for most of you, you have to print this physically and scan it, and it will reprogram it. So pretty simple fix there. Lastly, if you are unable to program your scanner with the default prefix character, so your scanner is maybe not an Eclipse or a Voyager, or it's an off-brand scanner, and it does have a preamble character, so it's putting something out front, but it's putting out something like a exclamation point, or again like that backslash, and you can't switch it or you can't reprogram it, then what I would recommend doing is you can have a look at your Bookmanager's scanner setup and actually change which preamble character it's looking for. So under your Alt-S for setup, so Alt-S for setup, under A for general, you have an option down here, option L, character used to prefix scan barcodes. So the default is this little tilde, which is, you know, the shift and the right next to the 1 key. You can press shift to get a tilde in there. And this tilde character can be changed. So if you can't change the programming of your scanner, you can always match Bookmanager with that. There may be some unintended consequences, so it's best to use this character because it's not a very often used character, but in that case, if you have to, you can change it. So with those 3 bits of advice in mind, you will be able to troubleshoot your scanner on your own. And if not, if you're still hitting troubles, give us a call, because rarely it does happen where the scanner fails, and then we'll look into when you bought the scanner from us, if you bought it from us, because a lot of these scanners have 3 to 5 year warranties, so it may be up for repair. Otherwise, you may be out of luck. So hopefully that's not the case. Hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you next week.